For years, I was at the mercy of my wife, complying with every request she made. Then, one day, I uncovered a harsh truth: she had been cheating on me for years. My response to this betrayal was a cruel revenge. In the serene quiet of their upscale apartment, Louise sat motionless, the world around him reduced to a blur of disbelief and shock. The evidence of Monica's betrayal lay before him, scattered like shards of broken glass. The love letters, steeped in passion and secrecy, weren't meant for his eyes, yet here they were, tearing at the fabric of what he had believed to be a perfect marriage. Louis had always prided himself on being attentive, a husband who listened and cared. He remembered their early days, filled with laughter and shared dreams. Monica, with her vivacious spirit and captivating smile, had seemed like the embodiment of his every hope. Now, as he sifted through the letters, each word was a dagger to his heart. How long had it been going on? The thought gnawed at him. They had built a life together, a facade of happiness that now crumbled under the weight of deceit. Louis's hands trembled as he held the last letter, the ink barely dry, detailing a rendezvous that coincided with one of his recent business trips. He had been a fool, blinded by love and trust. The apartment, once a sanctuary of their love, felt cold and alien. Photos of their travels adorned the walls, mocking him with memories of a lie. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the distant hum of the city below. Louis had been at work when he found the letters, tucked away in Monica's study, a place he seldom ventured. The discovery had sent him reeling, forcing him to leave early under the guise of a sudden illness. Now, as he sat in the gathering twilight, Louis felt a transformation within him. The pain of betrayal was giving way to a cold, calculated anger. He needed to confront Monica, yet a part of him yearned for something more. A revenge that would echo the depth of his pain. The idea began to take shape in his mind, a plan that would turn the tables. Monica, so confident in her duplicity, would never suspect him capable of deceit. Louis imagined the confusion, the paranoia that would ensnare her once he planted the seeds of his own infidelity. It would be a psychological game, a mirror to reflect her own betrayal. As the night deepened, Louis methodically began to plot. He would need evidence, subtle enough to be plausible yet vague enough to fuel uncertainty. A receipt from a hotel, a stray earring not belonging to Monica, messages on his phone carefully orchestrated to imply another woman. He would become an enigma, a puzzle for Monica to solve. In his heart, Louis knew this path would change him, would drag him into a realm of shadows and deception. Yet the thought of Monica, unsuspecting and confident, falling into his trap, offered a bitter sense of satisfaction. The clock struck midnight, marking the end of a day that had shattered his world. Louis stood up, his resolve hardened. The game was about to begin, and in this twisted dance of shadows, he would lead. The love he once felt had been replaced by a desire to expose the illusion of their marriage, to make Monica feel the sting of betrayal as acutely as he did. With a final glance at the love letters, Louis turned off the light, stepping into the darkness that now enveloped his heart. The morning sun cast a soft glow through the curtains, but the warmth did little to ease the chill in Louis's heart. As Monica bustled around the kitchen, her laughter filled the space with a sound that now seemed foreign to Louis. He watched her, her every movement a reminder of the deceit that lay beneath her cheerful demeanor. Today marked the beginning of his carefully crafted plan. He had spent the night strategizing, plotting each step with meticulous attention. The first phase was simple yet crucial, planting the seed of doubt. Louis had always been an open book to Monica, never hiding his phone or personal items. This openness, once a sign of trust, would now serve as his tool for deception. He started by changing his phone's password, a small act but one he knew would not go unnoticed. He made sure to leave his phone casually on the table, a silent invitation for Monica's prying eyes. At breakfast, he maintained a semblance of normalcy, engaging in their usual morning chatter. But there was a subtle change in his demeanor, a certain detachment in his responses. He could see Monica sensing the shift, her eyes narrowing slightly, a flicker of confusion crossing her face. Luis left for work earlier than usual, citing an unexpected meeting. In reality, he had other plans. His first stop was a boutique hotel downtown. He made a reservation for a day next week, under a pseudonym. The receipt, casually left in his jacket pocket, would be the first tangible clue. Next, he visited a small jewelry store, purchasing a cheap earring, distinctly different from Monica's taste. This, he planned to leave in their bedroom, a subtle but jarring anomaly in their shared space. As the day progressed, Luis found himself entrenched in a dual reality. Part of him was focused on his work, functioning as the efficient professional he had always been. Yet another part was constantly scheming, turning over each detail of his plan, anticipating Monica's reactions. By the time he returned home, Luis had crafted a series of vague messages on his phone, hinting at an affair. They were careful compositions, designed to be discovered, but revealing nothing concrete. He made sure to leave his phone unlocked on the dining table while he showered, a bait laid out for Monica's inevitable curiosity. Dinner was a quiet affair. Monica was visibly tense, her glances towards Luis filled with unspoken questions. He could tell she had seen the messages, the change in her demeanor was palpable. Yet, she said nothing, her silence a mix of caution and doubt. As they retired to bed, Luis could feel the distance between them, an invisible barrier that had not existed before. Lying in the darkness, he pondered the path he had chosen. There was no turning back now. He had set in motion a game of shadows, a dance of doubt and deception. In the stillness of the night, Luis realized the magnitude of his actions. He was no longer just a betrayed husband, he was now an architect of illusion, crafting a reality designed to unravel Monica's world. The road ahead was fraught with uncertainty, but for Luis, the course was set. The game had only just begun. The days that followed were a masterclass in subtlety for Luis. Each action, each word, was calculated to deepen Monica's suspicions. He took to coming home late, offering vague explanations that hinted at a newfound secrecy in his life. The atmosphere in their home had shifted, the once harmonious space now thrummed with the silent tension of an unsolved mystery. Monica, for her part, had become a portrait of unease. The seeds of doubt Luis had planted were blooming into an obsession. She watched him with hawk-like intensity, her eyes searching for clues in his every gesture. The transformation in her was stark. Gone was the carefree laughter, replaced now by a quiet, brooding presence. Luis noticed the subtle changes in her behavior. She began checking his phone more frequently, her fingers trembling as she scrolled through the messages. The earring he had strategically placed was discovered, as he knew it would be. He returned home one evening to find Monica holding it, her face a mask of confusion and hurt. "What is this, Luis? Whose is it?" she had asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Luis feigned ignorance, his expression one of innocent perplexity. He suggested perhaps it belonged to one of their friends, a logical explanation that he knew would do little to allay her fears. The uncertainty in her eyes told him all he needed to know, she didn't believe him. Each night, Luis lay awake, listening to the soft sound of Monica's restless movements. He could almost feel the cogs turning in her mind as she pieced together the fragments he left for her. The game was consuming them both, but in very different ways. For Luis, it was a calculated strategy, for Monica, it was a descent into a maelstrom of doubt and fear. The tension reached its zenith when Monica began to follow him. Luis had anticipated this, carefully planning his routes to give nothing away while still fueling her suspicions. He made stops at unfamiliar places, lingered in cafes with no apparent purpose, and engaged in brief, meaningless conversations with strangers. Each action was designed to be seen, to be questioned. One evening, as they sat in silence in their living room, Monica finally broke. "Are you seeing someone else?" she asked, her voice breaking the heavy silence. Luis looked at her, his face a mask of calm. "Why would you think that?" he replied, his tone deliberately neutral. "I just I feel like there's something you're not telling me, Monica said, her eyes pleading for the truth. Luis maintained his composure, offering reassurances laced with just enough ambiguity to keep the seed of doubt alive. He watched as Monica grappled with his words, wanting to believe him but trapped in the web of uncertainty he had woven. As the chapter closes, Luis reflects on the unfolding drama. He sees the toll it's taking on Monica, her once vibrant spirit dimmed by the shadows of suspicion. Yet, he feels no satisfaction in her torment. Instead, he's left questioning the morality of his actions, wondering if the price of his revenge is too high. The game he started as a means of retribution is evolving into a mirror, reflecting the darkest parts of himself. He begins to realize that in seeking to punish Monica, he's also punishing himself, ensnaring them both in a game with no clear end in sight. As days turned into weeks, the game Luis had set in motion began to take a toll on both him and Monica. The once comfortable silences in their home were now filled with unspoken accusations and a palpable tension. Luis watched as Monica became a shadow of her former self, her joy replaced by a relentless quest for the truth. One evening, the facade finally cracked. Monica confronted Luis directly, her usual composure replaced by a torrent of emotion. "I can't do this anymore, Luis. This secrecy, these lies. I know there's someone else," she declared, her voice trembling with a mix of anger and desperation. Luis, taken aback by the intensity of her outburst, realized the depths of the pain he had inflicted. He saw the raw hurt in her eyes, the result of the web of deceit he had spun. Yet, he was too far gone to retreat. He maintained his charade, feigning innocence and confusion. "Monica, you're mistaken. There's nobody else," he replied, his voice steady but his heart heavy with guilt. The conversation escalated as Monica recounted the myriad of small clues she had pieced together, the late nights, the mysterious phone messages, the unexplained earring. Each piece of evidence was a fragment of the illusion Luis had crafted, and hearing them laid out so plainly filled him with a sense of foreboding. Luis continued to deny her accusations, but his words fell on deaf ears. Monica's trust had been eroded by a constant drip of doubt, and nothing he said could sway her conviction that he was unfaithful. The argument reached its peak, leaving both emotionally drained. Monica, her eyes brimming with tears, declared, "I need some time alone, Luis. I can't live like this, constantly questioning if I'm enough for you." Luis watched, helpless, as Monica packed a bag and left their apartment. The door closing behind her felt like a definitive end to a chapter in their lives. He was left alone, surrounded by the remnants of their life together, now tainted by the game of shadows he had orchestrated. That night, Luis reflected on the path he had chosen. His intention had been to make Monica feel the sting of betrayal as he had, but the reality of his actions was far more complex. He had damaged the very foundation of their relationship, sowing seeds of distrust that had grown into an insurmountable barrier between them. As he sat in the quiet of their now empty apartment, Luis realized the irony of his quest for revenge. In trying to punish Monica, he had also punished himself, losing the companionship and love that had once been his solace. The game he thought he controlled had spiraled into a cycle of hurt, affecting them both deeply. Chapter 4 ends with Luis grappling with the consequences of his actions. He begins to question whether the satisfaction of revenge is worth the price of their shared happiness. The realization dawns on him that in the pursuit of retribution, he had lost not just Monica's trust, but a part of himself as well. The chapter closes on a note of introspection, with Luis contemplating the daunting task of reconciliation, wondering if the damage done can ever be truly repaired. The once shared space of Luis and Monica's apartment now echoed with the emptiness left in the wake of Monica's departure. Luis, amidst the quiet solitude, reflected on the intricate web of deception he had woven. The revenge he sought had spiraled beyond his control, culminating in an outcome far removed from his initial intentions. Resolute to confront the aftermath, Luis reached out to Monica, proposing a final meeting to untangle the threads of their fractured relationship. They met at a quaint café, a neutral ground steeped in memories of better times. As they sat across from each other, the air was thick with unspoken words. Luis, carrying the weight of his actions, unveiled the truth behind his deceit. He confessed the discovery of her letters, his ensuing pain, and the elaborate facade of infidelity he had crafted. Monica, absorbing the gravity of his revelations, sat in stunned silence. When she finally spoke, her voice was a mixture of disbelief and sorrow. "You orchestrated all this just to make me suffer?" she asked, her eyes brimming with tears. Luis, his voice tinged with regret, responded, "I was blinded by hurt, Monica. I wanted to make you feel what I felt, but I've realized the cost was too high." The conversation, fraught with emotions, veered towards a bitter end. Monica expressed her inability to move past the betrayal and deceit. "You've broken something fundamental between us, Luis. I can't just forget and move on," she said resolutely. As Monica walked away, leaving their shared past behind, Luis felt a mix of sorrow and relief. The closure of their chapter was painful, yet it brought a sense of liberation to him. In the aftermath, Luis embarked on a journey of self-discovery. He channeled his energies into his passions and career, finding solace in personal growth and achievements. The experience had taught him valuable lessons about trust, love, and the dangers of revenge. Meanwhile, Monica grappled with the aftermath of Luis's actions and her own unresolved feelings. The trust that was once the cornerstone of their relationship had crumbled, leaving her to navigate a path filled with doubts and uncertainties. The chapter concludes with Luis finding a renewed sense of purpose and happiness in his individual journey. He embraced new opportunities and connections, his life taking a positive turn. Monica's path, however, remained shadowed by the remnants of their past, her steps tentative as she sought to rebuild her sense of self.